Okay, record. Okay, here we are. Tech Tuesday. It is July, what is it, 12th? It is hot outside and we're going to be cool inside and do a little tech talk. So I know my brain is exploding today because I got to go to a social media training yesterday. So I have all kinds of things pinging in my brain. But before we ping about anything, does anybody have any questions? We have a small group today. I think the whole planet is on vacation. Yeah, Tuesday, what's up?
I did put one on the Insider, and it was just simply, I had like the 10 cards that I was testing and playing with. And now I'm getting ready to build different ones, and I didn't know how to delete the ones I was testing with. So I'll put that in the Insider as a question.
Tuesday, did you see my comment back on that yet?
I was grinding. I actually didn't go back into... No, I'm sorry.
What I want to do real quick, if you don't mind, Kathy, because I'm already familiar with Tuesday's question on deleting cards.
Yeah.
I want to go through it. And then I want to preface this by something Kathy always talks about, and it's something to consider, Tuesday, is upgrading to the 100 cards because
I'll do that today.
Yeah, sometimes you don't want to get rid of a card.
Okay.
And it's funny because, Kathy, we get the question all the time, why 10 cards? And now we're starting to hit the limit of our 10 cards. Why 100? There are people with hundreds, plural, on the system. So consider that, because I know, Kathy, sometimes you'll recommend why delete. If you've got evergreen links out on test cards that you've sent out there, sometimes it's better to come back and just edit that card and turn it into what you want than it is to delete it. But with that being said, I want to go through this real quick, and then it's a little bit different on your mobile device to delete cards, but I'm going to show you on the desktop really quick in our demo account. And I say really quick because I think what you're going to see is if you go to any one of your cards, and I'm just going to go to the construction card, I'm not going to hit the delete button, but you'll see these 3 little dots on the card. If you click on that, it's going to give you a drop-down menu. And one thing that might not be noticeable on here, Tuesday, is there's a scroll bar on that drop-down menu. So although it looks like it cuts off on intros, I'm just going to use my mouse and scroll down. There's a delete button. So I have to assume, and nothing against you, it's totally a user interface thing where it was just hidden right there to delete it. So that's the training on how to delete a card on desktop. It's a little bit more unique on your mobile. And I'm not going to, well, I guess I could just share my screen real quick. Give me a second. I'm going to share the mobile screen. All right.
Yeah, so we always say, Tuesday, we always say edit, not delete, right? And it's not because you can't delete. I always just want people to have that saying going through their brain before they hit delete, and then they text or they email support going like, I just accidentally deleted my most favorite card ever.
Makes total sense. Makes sense.
And so it's not that you can't delete. We always just say, like, think twice, give it 2-3 thoughts before you do it. Where is this?
Because once it's gone, it is gone. And additionally, if you've ever created campaigns for that card, individual links for that card, and posted them out, those are evergreen. They're always going to point back to that card if it exists. So be aware of that. So I'm on the mobile version of the app. You'll notice it's not the 10 card slider because our demo account now has a lot more than 10 cards in there. But in any case, any card you want to delete, you just tap on it. I'm going to tap on Top Realtor here. And what you're going to see is that same drop-down menu, but in the upper right-hand corner, there's a little gear. And if you click on that gear, I'm just going to take a screenshot here so I can write. There is delete card right there. So in either case, if you were going into an event and you had to do a little delete on your mobile device, you can do it from there. Otherwise, you can do it on your desktop.
That's the other thing we always say. If you can't find something, look under the gear.
Yep. There are a lot of, like, Kathy, to your point, we try to keep things clean in the user interface where, the most common used elements are going to be accessible. And then some of the other ones that you might not use all the time, like deleting, we're going to nest them a little bit. So always be aware, click on things. You're not going to break it and things will come up. And then you'll also see if you do hit delete, it should give you a double confirmation. Like, are you sure you want to delete this? because once you
hear
hit yes,
Kathy's voice in your head.
Yeah, once you hit yes on that, it is dawn.
Love it. I love it. Is that helpful? Okay, good deal. Hey, Anna. Any other questions? Anything else going on you guys are trying to do this week? Need questions? We have a very small group today, Anna. Thanks for joining. Hi, Danon. So I don't have just a ton of stuff, and we can go over whatever y'all want. We can dive into just some training or whatever, but I can't even tell you. Yesterday I wanted to stand up and cheer, like, woohoo! I was at this social media training, and this gentleman was talking, and one of his points was, I swear, I was like, he just pulled it out of my brain. He was like, never leave somebody without getting them in your ecosystem. I'm like, what I say? That's what I say. And he's like, there's more than just getting someone's name, email, and phone number. I'm like, yes, get them in your social media. And he was like, get them in your social media. And I was like, yes, that's right. Right. Because then again, you have a way to connect with them.
Yeah.
And a little cheesy, but a good point. I liked what he said. I didn't like how he said it, but I liked what he said about, if all you do is give away business cards, you're giving away the ability, I'll say it my way instead of his way, you're giving away the ability for that person to connect with you. Mm-hmm. Right. But if you're collecting people's business cards, and of course we're going to do it super fancy and put them in our shuffle, you now have the power. You have the ability to connect with that person and, get to know them and have them in your atmosphere or whatever, have a relationship with them. And I was just like, man, if I could preach that from the mountaintops, I think that is the most important thing. And then there's the follow-up, right? I really think people, it's not that we miss it. We all know we should do it. It's doing it. It's literally just putting that time aside and going, this is what I'm going to do right now. And it's going to be, I'm going to make it quick and simple. Matter of fact, I'll pull up, if you guys want to iterate on something else, I'll pull up a saying from a book that a friend of mine did a training on, about like something to text somebody that maybe you've dropped the ball with. Mm-hmm. But it's just like, hey, I'm human. I'm so sorry. Life got in the way. I know we were going to have coffee, something simple, because everybody's there. And no one's going to be like, yeah, well, I'm perfect and I never forget to call people. And so, now we can't be friends. Right. But I really think just taking the time, I even had somebody today, she left me a voicemail yesterday when I was in this class. I called her back today and she was like, oh, Kathy, oh, I can't believe you called me. I'm like, you left me a voicemail. And she's like, well, I don't think most people get voicemails anymore. They just don't even listen to them. And I'm like, that's a good point. We all need to take a second, right? Take a breath, do the little things, because the little things are obvious to people because they don't happen anymore. Yeah. Right? We're all so busy, because I'm busy too. And I hate that word.
The impact of your action, Kathy, of calling her back or of taking that action, that raises your credibility in that person's eyes because they didn't even expect it, right? And I think that's it. Guy and I are data guys, we're stat guys, and we talk about the stuff on networking from the statistics side, where even if two people meet each other, guys, remember 80% of people, and we're not going to be in the 80%, we're going to be in the 20%, right? But 80% of people, so more than average, more than half the people out there, they don't follow up with somebody more than 2 times. Think about that. I didn't make up the stat. That's the stat. Yeah, 80% of people, it's like, I met you Tuesday, I left you a voicemail, that was the end of the relationship, move on to the next one. And it's like, no, like you have to work your relationship. We almost have to think about, we're all farmers here. You don't just throw seeds on the concrete and walk away. You know what I mean? Like you till your soil and you get it ready. That's the preparing to go to the event. You poke the holes in the soil and you put a little seed in each one and you cover it. You water it, and then you be consistent with it. You weed it every now and then you get harvest time because you worked it. And the process is simple, but it still requires action and work. And Kathy, I think that's the biggest thing. If we lean into that, knowing that, and then do the opposite of what the average person is going to do. Because Kathy, that you hit the nail on the head. If you're sitting there handing out business cards, that's essentially throwing seeds on the concrete. But if you're collecting relationships and then you start working those relationships, part of either handing out your digital card and them filling out a form, or, you collecting their cards and scanning them in and adding them to the CRM and setting your notes and your follow-ups. Once you get into that habit and you go through that relationship loop, it's time to follow up, read my notes, do the follow-up, have the interaction, take another note, set another follow-up, rinse and repeat. You start to yield all of this fruit. You become that person, because we know average sale happens between the 5th and the 12th interaction. So if 80% don't go past 2 and the low end of the sales side is at 5, that's a huge chasm that most people aren't going to cross. But if you take it upon yourself to take that action, you're going to surprise so many people. You know how often, this is a crazy thing, right? Shuffle lets me set a follow-up reminder for any time into the future. Somebody might say, now's not the right time. And I say, I completely understand. Would it be okay if I reach out in a month, in 2 months, in 4 months, in 6 months, whatever that time frame is? Most people are like, yeah, sure, go ahead, reach out to me in the future. They love putting things off. And they don't expect that in that future date, you're going to take an action. And I will tell you 100% of the time, when there's a big gap of time and then I do what I say I'm going to do, I follow up with somebody, hey, it's been 6 months, Danon. How are you doing? I know when we talked last, this was going on. The timing wasn't right, all of this stuff. I'm just circling back around to reignite everything. They're like, oh my gosh. Now, again, my credibility goes up for those individuals. I do what I say I'm going to do. I have information to recall, and it's not costing me any brain power or brain damage to go through that. I'm just taking actions and following the system and doing what other people aren't going to do. And here's the reality. I said 80% won't follow up past 2 times. Guess what? 50%, more than, or right at half of the people out there, 50% of people, they're not going to follow up a single time. That means when they leave that networking event and everybody gave them their card, they go and they set that big stack on their desk, or they put it in the shoebox, or they put it in the trash, or they leave it in their pockets and it gets washed away in the wash, and zero, a big goose egg, zero action happens. So again, if we can learn from this and then do the opposite, right? Do what we're supposed to be doing, the impacts can be phenomenal and measurable, right? So don't be in the 50% who do nothing. Don't be in the 80% who do just 2. Be in the 20% that do 5 to 12 follow-ups, interact and build and foster those relationships. Be the collector, like Kathy, you're talking about. Grab their card. Here, let me scan this, and then I'll give it back to you. Save a tree type of thing. And they're like, what? Oh yeah, and I'm a reach out. We'll grab coffee. We'll do a call. You set an expectation. And I think there's that type of stuff, Kathy, that so many people miss out on. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a fear of success, a fear of failure, or laziness, or whatever it is. But if you just get over it and take the action, and it doesn't have to be like, I have to do 500 follow-ups today. We talked about it Tuesday, just at the beginning of this, with building momentum. If you're a physics person, again, I'm a little nerdy type of guy, but you've got, right, a body at rest wants to stay at rest, but it has potential energy, right? Potential energy. And then once it gets moving, it can build that energy as it goes, that snowball effect. In everything we're implementing in any area of our business, if you feel overwhelmed by implementing it, then cut it down until you feel like, I can do this. I'm trying to think of the stat it was. It was something like you have to measure your confidence level on the actions and activities that you're taking. If you are a 8 out of 10 or less in confidence that you're going to be able to do this thing consistently, then break down that action, that task, or that activity to smaller chunks so that you are a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. I'll give you an example. Do you feel like you're a 10 out of 10 that you'll call 500 people today? I'm not, right? But I could see the benefit of what would happen if I called 500 people. You know, my friend James Flowers, he was a recruiter and he would call 500 people a day. He got to that level of momentum. But I am a 10 out of 10 that I can call 3 people today. So start there. And once you do that consistently, it becomes habit. It becomes effortless. Then you're like, well, maybe 4 people or 5 people or 8 people or 10 people. I'm a 10 out of 10. And start to, again, while we do our sprint planning, go through and adjust that so that you build momentum over time. And if you start out with 2 people, you know, then all of a sudden a month, 2 months, a quarter later, you're at 25, 30 people a day that you're interacting with. That's the James Clear 1% improvement type of process. But for me, I think there's a massive gap between knowing what you need to do and doing it. And it's crossing that chasm. And once you do, you'll realize that every result you've ever gotten required some form of action. So you just have to start taking that action. Sorry, I wanted to throw that out there. So I know.
Oh, no, you're fine. Anna, she's over here. I'm over here on another page trying to get you guys this quote. Go ahead.
Yeah, Anna, go ahead. Thanks for being patient.
Well, you got a lot to say. I like the fact that you share so much with us. First of all, I apologize for being late today, but I was sharing a digital free business card with a gal on the phone. You know, she just, I mean, her eyes just lit up and she said, well, I have this nonprofit in Africa and they work with small business owners.
Love it.
And so she's looking at that today. And that's exciting to me that, you know, I can benefit people clear across the world with Shuffle. And it doesn't matter how old I am. You know, it doesn't matter how long, you know, somebody's been a prospect on my list. It doesn't matter. I always check in. And my biggest issue on follow-up is I forget to enter it because I'm doing so many processes all the time. I forget to enter that I did the follow-up. And yeah.
Anna, one tip I have on this, because I have that same problem. Here, and I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to confess to something right now, guys. I still use a notebook. Okay, why? I'm a person who, when I write something down, I may never go back and look at it, but it's just that process that I've adopted. Look at all of us, right? A process that I've adopted. So here is the question, okay? My question, Anna, for you is it the data entry that is holding you up? And here's why I asked this. Like, I feel like data entry is what holds people back from punching in a phone number off of a business card. It's like, oh, I actually have to pick up my phone and push 10 buttons. I'd rather rest right now. You know what I mean? But if it's one button, it becomes much easier to do. We call it lowering the force of friction. So if you're taking notes, like I take notes, Anna, in there is a way under the notes section. And Kathy, I don't know if you want to show it. If I want to show it, I think you're still looking at for a quote. So why don't I show it real quick? On your mobile device, under the notes section, you can actually take a picture. And so if you've written your notes down, then just start implementing the action of, I'm going to take a quick picture and link it to that contact so that when you go back to review, even though you're not reviewing things you typed in, you're reviewing the notes that you had. Because here's the reality, right? If you and I met 5 times, you're going to be on 5 separate pages in different areas in the thickness of this book. I go through a lot of these and I have a big stack of them on the shelf, but I never go back to it because I can just go to the notes section. Yep, look at it, Anna. Yep, you know, go to the notes section and pull that up. So why don't I share that real quick on the mobile side, because that's where our cameras are. And then the only habit now you need to implement is, you'll practice it a few times, but pulling out your phone, opening up your app, and just snapping a picture of the note so you don't have to rewrite everything. For some people, rewriting it, like when I was in school, you'd rewrite the notes you did from class so that you try to retrain yourself. No, you just link it back to that contact for when you need it again. Let me do that real quick. Okay.
Yeah, it's so true. If you just snap those notes and at least you have, I mean, you don't have to flip anywhere, but you've got that reference.
Well, that's sort of what we would call, so I'm going to the contacts section. If you can see on the bottom navigation there, I'm on contacts. I'm going to grab a contact. We'll grab me. I'm going to go down to the notes section here, and you can see you can have multiple notes. And I'm going to hit to add a new note. And right here on that notes section, new photo. And you can just take a photo of your note, and that way it'll load it in. Hopefully that helps you out. It might make your write a little bit more clear too if you need to read the notes of the pictures that you're taking. But for me, a lot of that's it. My chicken scratch is only legible to me, but it makes sense when I take a quick look at it before I go into that next interaction. And this is especially helpful in that example I said, 3 months down the road, hey, it's not right time. Why don't you contact me next quarter? I know I'll have a little bit more bandwidth or whatnot. Like they're setting an expectation that they don't think you're going to reach. Then you reach it. You say, hey, last quarter when we talked, well, it's been 3 months. I want to follow up with you. And you recall everything you talked about. They're like, oh my gosh, Anna just called me back. She remembered everything we talked about. And she's trying to help me by providing whatever service it is. I guess if I'm going to choose to work with anybody, that's the person I want to work with, not the person who just leaves me hanging, doesn't call me back, doesn't remember what we talked about or anything like that.
Well, I don't know about, I don't know about you, but like for me, if I'm on the phone with somebody, like I'm doodling, like I'm writing down keywords or even if it's just something, that alone is going to spark, oh yeah. Right. So, I mean, it may not be something I want to be like, so we talked about the 7 kids and the 7 cats and the,
right.
Like, I don't want to voice note it. Right. I want to know, like, what was I scribbling while we were talking? Right. So that just, to me, it just brings, it brings back those memories.
I also want to share one last thing when it comes to notes real quick, Anna, and then you can continue on with your questions, because Kathy, you just mentioned it. And I think there's a very powerful feature in Shuffle in addition to those photos, and it is voice to text. It's not perfect, right? It's not perfect, but if you've ever used it, it's probably one of the easiest ways to dictate your notes. So if I'm trying to summarize something, you can, at least on iOS, there's a little speaker down at the bottom. If you guys are familiar with your phones, if it's Android, I believe it has it as well. I'm just going to click on it. Great meeting with ER. We talked about his 7 kids and his trip to the Bahamas and all these other things that is going on in his life. And now's not the right time to do business, but when we get together in 6 months, I'll recall all of this information and reverberate it all back to him, and it'll really make me look good.
ER's wife's down the hall going like, what 7 kids?
Right.
Is that your vision?
No, it was because Kathy said 7. Okay, guys. I don't want to be outnumbered here.
No, I use the notes section quite a bit, I think. Yeah. It's, when I get the clicks that you need to follow up, and I don't go back and say, oh, I did that. So once a week I'm going through and clearing up my follow-ups and setting new follow-up dates. But
I think that's an important activity that we can all have on our schedule, because sometimes when I get my alert, it's not the opportune time for me to follow up. Exactly. And I can either say, okay, remind me later. Sometimes you're quickly just pushing buttons and you'll miss it, or you'll just close it. So Annie, you bring up a good point. Every week on Monday, we do our sprint planning. Then open up your contacts, take a look. You can sort your contacts by upcoming follow-ups, and all of the overdue ones are going to show right there. And I think this is a critical part about the networking side of things, more so than the content that we share outside of things. Because guys, the content, the landing pages, the business card, these are all supplemental things to support the relationship, to answer questions, to provide information. So when you go into your contacts, and I usually do this when I'm on my desktop, like planning in my office, laying things out, you can select and come in here. I can see, oh, there's some follow-ups that I have coming up. There's a little gear. This is like what we talked about Tuesday. If you're ever looking for anything, click around. It's under the gear somewhere. And then we can say, look, I want to sort these by upcoming follow-ups. And here they all are. And so even though some of these might be overdue, I can start right at the top. I better follow up with Jane. And even though this was back in April, to Kathy's point, just following up and saying, hey, I'm sorry, things got away from me, but I really had an intention to follow up with you, and now I'm getting an opportunity. That's going to go 1,000 times further than just saying, well, I guess Jane's no good anymore, and I'm just going to delete this relation. No, they're all sitting there. You might as well start working them. And I know, Kathy, in the past, we've talked about from a networking sort of method of operation. It's about creating a loop or a cycle with each person you interact with. And it starts out with the introduction. You take some notes about what you learned. You collect information. You set a follow-up. The follow-up goes off. You review some information like the notes. You check out what information, you take the action. A big thing we can all learn from, you should end every encounter with setting the expectation of the next interaction. Right? I mean, these are all skills that are talked about in sales and marketing, right? Oh, Tuesday, it was so good to chat with you. I look forward to seeing you on Thursday, or I will follow up with you in 6 months, or we're grabbing coffee next Tuesday. We're setting that expectation. Then I set the reminder, and maybe the reminder is to confirm the Tuesday coffee. Maybe the reminder is a quick happy anniversary. It doesn't matter what the reminder is telling you to do. It's telling you to stay in contact. The reminder goes off. Again, if you miss it, you come back, you look, what reminders or what follow-ups do I need to take care of? You don't want to be the person, and I'm sure we've all had it happen to us, where it's like, you have 5 overdue, you have 25, you have 130 overdue follow-ups. All that's going to do is just remind us that we're missing out on opportunities. You want to be that person that's like, I don't know, it's like me, I'm like, I close every app after I'm done using it, so it just doesn't sit open. You don't have to be that granular, but you do have to implement a system that you're going to follow. And if you make it circular, that means no contact is ever going to fall through the gaps. The circle could be big, right? 6 months duration between events. It could be super tight and small, like, Anna, I look forward to talking to you tomorrow, or we're having a one-on-one on Thursday, or we're going to have that meeting on Friday. You know what I mean? And it's only like 48 hours before the next follow-up comes due. And I might not even have to look at my notes to remember what we talked about.
I'll tell you the ones that I think are the ones that are super impactful, though, are the outside the box ones, right? Mm-hmm. If you have, like I have a person whose husband's having surgery. Right. And she's like, oh, I can't come to this because he'll be coming home that day. I have that noted, right? I need to follow up and see, hey, I hope everything went great. I hope, he got home all right. And just let's catch up after things have settled. Yeah. So if somebody's, in the hospital or something's going on with their kids, you guys are going to cry. I mean, I just found out the thing about Guy ER. So Guy lost the pup today. So Sir passed away today. I'm going to post about that later. I know I've already cried today. I mean, if you find out something that, because somebody's coming home from vacation. Hey, how was your vacation? Yeah. Something that's personal. They're like, how do you remember those things? Right? It's the little things. Or like, you guys know, I have my polka dot chapter. Our mascot is the No Drama Llama. I cannot tell you every single post on the planet that has a llama in it, people tag me. And so I am top of mind the minute some goofy llama is running across the page, right? But it makes me laugh. Yeah. And I reach out to that person. Hey, thanks for thinking about me. How are you? I mean, my house is full of llama stuff. Never saw that coming when I started my dot chapter. But it's like those little things. We have a member who she has a VW bug. So everything VW bugs, like everybody tags her on that, right? But it just makes you a human. Again, you're not a sales machine. I mean, you become a human being, which is okay. And we all mess up and we all flake out. And this was going to be my tip on this, Anna, was on my Shuffle app, I make my notifications sticky. So they don't just pop in and disappear. I have them stick until I swipe them away or I take the action on them. So it's in your settings, in your phone, and you go all the way down to Shuffle. And you go to those notifications and make them sticky or whatever they call that, so that it can't go away until I tell it to.
Exactly.
So that helps my brain go like, wait a minute, what does that say? Take a minute, take that in, right? Otherwise you're like swipe, and then 2 days later. So here, let me share this real fast. This was just a great quote. There's a fantastic book called The 7 Levels of Communication. And this was the quote on how to get someone to call you back. Right? So they call you back and you're just like, listen, I just wanted to apologize. I just wanted to let you know that I dropped the ball. But this, I mean, I have to say 98% of the time, this will get you a call back. Right? Yeah. So everybody's human. They get it. If they don't get it, is that somebody you really want to do business with anyways?
Exactly. And you're in business to do business with people that you want to do business with.
Yep.
Not everybody.
100%.
Well, I mean,
I do have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't leave my hand up there because I do have a question.
Yeah, we have a question on chat too. So you go ahead.
Yeah, I have Brenda Moore shared her card with me. Mm-hmm. I opened it on the desktop and I clicked on add to card index on shuffle. Mm-hmm. Well, it's been 3 days and it's still not there. And
Take you to
it's been 3 days, but
anything like that.
It wasn't this card I shared with. I shared her another card.
Okay. If you want, do you want to share that card in the chat or a card, and I can go through on the Doug demo and walk through, and we can experience what it should do and see that there, Anna. What it should do, especially if you're on your browser, is it's going to ask you to log in, or it should take you over into Shuffle and see that. So if it didn't happen immediately, then something happened, and I want to make sure that it's not a bug or anything.
Okay. So if I have Shuffle open on a different browser, it's not going to connect.
Same browser, yeah. So if you're like
have
Chrome and then you open the card in Safari, but what it should do if you open the card in Safari is prompt you to log into your Shuffle account. So not sure if it had triggered that prompt for you. But if we want to go through an example and anybody wants to share a card in chat, we can walk through it.
Yeah, it does prompt me to go to my Shuffle, but I already have it open, and I feel funny opening it in another location. Like, let's try this here. Let's try it just because we're here, right?
That's what we're here for.
Yep.
And it asks me to log in.
So it doesn't recognize that it's open somewhere else.
There in your card index.
Well, card index. Add my info. Save my info. Add the card index. Add the Shuffle. Contacts. And she's not there.
Okay, if you reach out to me or post the card link, I'll look into it personally and make sure we get that into your card index. I want to make sure it's not triggering anything funky.
It just popped up.
Did it work?
It just took a minute. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
I love it.
And I think that's an important question. So
we love it when things
Anna,
happen.
now that it's in there, if you close that browser down, it's going to be in your Shuffle in the other browser. It's just needed to go through the card itself.
Okay. I have much better understanding. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I only check voicemail once a day, and I tell people that. Send me a text sister. If you want anything more urgent. Otherwise, I check my voicemail once per day.
I flat out told the lady that called me, I was like, hey, I check it when I can. She's like, at least you're honest. Okay, so let's talk about Shelly's question. So Shelly wants to make a card for her sister to network her resume to get a better job at a mixer. Does anyone have any ideas? Has anyone done this? I'm thinking I could PDF her resume and use it as one of the photos, put a headshot, her social media, etc. So my very first thing I will say is you can actually add a button to a PDF so it pops up much nicer and prettier than just having it captured as a small photo. That's the first thing I'm thinking of, but I absolutely love this idea. I have trained on this before from people that are out networking. I think one of the nice things is that you are handing the person who knows the person or whomever all your information, right? Again, we talked about this yesterday too. If people, especially headhunters, recruiters, they're all going to go and do all the searches and backgrounds and all that stuff on you. So here's my social media. Here's who I am. This is what I'm looking for. And I think it's a great idea, especially at a mixer, right? Who do you know that you can forward this to? I would make the forward button very prominent. Mm-hmm. Right? Because it's more about forwarding. You could put a
campaign link tied to a button that says forward my information, and it just links to that they could share out. I agree. I think there's a lot of opportunity. The way I think of it is you want to keep it short and sweet. I'm sure the person who's reviewing resumes and receiving stuff has a lot on their desk potentially these days. And I love the idea. Headshot, maybe a blurb. Here's who I am. Here's my skill set. Here's what I can do. And then almost like a link hub of here's a link to my resume to Kathy's point, and that could link straight to the PDF, even if you have to throw that in a Google Drive folder. You know what I mean? Here's my social links. You're going to creep me out online anyways to make sure I'm not some crazy person. You might as well curate the path that you want that person to follow. And then that recruiter, that HR person, whoever's receiving that at the end, they're going to be like, wow, this person's pretty well put together. They've got everything set up for me. You know what I mean? And I don't have to really flip through a stack of paper. You're differentiating yourself. A lot of that. One thing to even consider, maybe a video message from them. You know what I mean? Right on there. Hey, thanks for opening this up. So excited for you to consider me. This is what I'm looking. When you start to hear, you're expressing who you are. You know what I mean? Guy said the quote yesterday or on Monday. It's not just about making a first impression, which is very important. It's about making a lasting impression. And I think that's really where this technology can come in, especially with this. Links to LinkedIn, and then I would try and organize that, right? I'm not going to put my party links from Instagram and Facebook right at the top, but I may put them in there because you're going to find out about it anyways. I might as well make it easy. So maybe it's my resume, my LinkedIn, my, etc. My portfolio of work, if there's a body of work she wants to share.
Well, I think too that not only can you share this. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Anna, go ahead.
That is so amazingly easier for HR departments because 90% of everything they do is online anymore. Mm-hmm. And when you're savvy enough to have something that's that accessible, they're going to consider you. Absolutely.
Well, it also depends on if you're, if you're currently employed, do they know you're looking? So are you free to post this? But you could post this on Facebook and Facebook groups. I know here in Dallas, there's huge groups of people that are always like, oh, I'm a recruiter. I know somebody, who's looking for a job, or I know somebody who's looking for a position, looking for a person, and you making that your answer, right? Hey, I have a friend or I have a sister, but somebody's looking, and going like, here's their information, right? I don't know if you're familiar with Bitly. You could even do a little mini Bitly link that just says, whatever her name is, hire Betty, bit.ly.com, hire Betty, or, whatever. You can just do something cute and bing, 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 bing. You're putting those out there in different places. And again, it just looks really professional and simple. It's not just like, hey, my friend is looking for this.
Yeah. To Anna's point, LinkedIn, there are so many recruiters and HR people that are just sitting there on LinkedIn, and they're using LinkedIn to do outreach and recruiting, that to in-message them, not a, hey, what positions do you have or what openings, but like, hey, here's a link to check me out. It becomes accessible. And we talk about this a lot when we talk about any page we're making on Shuffle. We're really trying to reduce the friction for whoever is interacting with that material. You know what I mean? The simpler you make it for a person to take the action or follow the flow that you would like them to take, the more likely they are to do that. The harder you make it, the more likely they are to what we would call in technology bounce, right? Hit the X, move on, go forward. I can only imagine that resume that's sitting there that somebody put, time to print out on cards, heavy stock paper that's My dad had a resume that was 20 pages deep. I would have never read that thing. You know what I mean? God bless him. Thankfully, he's retired now, but it's like, I don't know if they were judging candidates by the weight of the resume or whatnot. You want to reduce the friction and make it accessible. I also think it allows for more visual stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think visual things, even though we like to think the world happens, in my mind, should happen in a black box, you know what I mean? Where we're just choosing a candidate based on qualifications. The reality is there's culture, the business culture, the fit, all of these things. People are going to make a judgment based on all of that. So you just put it all forward and you say, here's who I am. Here's what I do. Here's how I can serve you. Here's what I'm looking for, and make it easy to get a hold of me. Here's my contact info. If you got a question, here's a form to ask me a question, whatever you think would be on there. But I would try and keep it short and sweet and not overwhelm the viewer.
Yeah, I was going to try and make it business cardy. So, just a few buttons.
Yeah.
Do you know how to put the PDFs on both mobile? I don't know if you're building on mobile or desktop. Do you know how to put the PDF link on there?
I was going to build it in Canva.
But to link it.
To link it to the PDF, I was going to put it in a Google Drive, just like you said.
Right. Do you know how to link the PDF to the shuffle card?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make.
I've got multiple cards that link to each other. So yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. What?
Okay.
I would just build it.
I just don't want to not tell you this in case you don't know it. So hold on. Hold the phone. The secret sauce. Let me get out of this.
Or are you talking a direct link to PDF?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
There is a way where you don't even have to put it into a drive.
Right.
Correct. And I've seen that. That's another.
Do you know the little button? Okay. I just want to make sure you saw that. I was going to go pull the thing up and show you. Okay. Because it's very different on mobile than it is on desktop.
Oh,
so I just wanted you to make sure.
I'm building this on desktop.
Okay. Perfect. So again, you could make it really cute, right? You could have a little Canva that says like, click here for my resume, and they click it and it opens.
Yeah.
Very good.
And thank you for that, because you're right. It would be really small in just the PDF form. So
right. You see what I'm saying? Because then they couldn't do anything with it. It would just be sitting there. So definitely make it a linked PDF.
Thank all of you.
Anybody else have anything on that? Anybody have anything on anything? Any other questions? Anything you're trying to do, figure out? I have lots of other things, but they're their own phone call almost. They're their own topic. Hey, Dana, what's up?
Hello, everybody. Excuse the noise, but I have a question. The question that I have is, I made a card a while ago, like one of my first cards, using the dollar promo. It wasn't actually using the dollar promo. I made the card offering the dollar promo, and then I gave the card to somebody, like when they first started. I guess they cloned it, but now I don't know. I don't remember ever like passing it out like somebody else. Other than that, people that asked me to clone it. But I'm using the card, but I'm not using the card. So I'm just trying to figure out. I always thought it delete. Not sure what I should do.
You're breaking up a little bit, Dana, and we're having trouble hearing you. But I think and please, I'm trying to read through the lines on here. But if somebody used that card and cloned it, they now have their own version of that card. So if you go back and delete your version of that card, it's not going to impact or affect them in any way. I'm not quite sure if that was your question. But I do know that if I create a card, ER's card number 1, and I did it a long time ago, and I shared it out and people cloned it and they're now using it, they've adjusted it for themselves. If I go back and say, this is no longer relevant card, and I either update it, change it, or delete it, it's not going to impact anybody. Once you clone, they've made a copy, and their copy is theirs and yours is yours. So as yours departs from theirs, they'll just diverge from each other. The same thing that when I clone a card, it's like a mirror image. but then I start making, oh, I got to add my photo. I got to add my name. I got to add, they start to become their own entities. And the best way I like to think about it is cloning is just creating that starting ground, and it's doing a little bit of the extra footwork up front to help you get started. The layout, the information, some of the text, it's all in there. But once I start modifying it, it is now my creation. It's like if you've ever gone into Word or Google Docs and you go to create a new document, it gives you some suggested templates. You're just cloning an outline or a layout, and then you're working from there.
Okay, no, well, what I was saying was I'm still getting notifications from that card, but I don't remember ever. I guess I would have to go back to it and see if I set it up as a campaign or something.
Yeah. Definitely take a look at that,
exactly.
because if you did have it set up as a campaign and that's still out there, that link is evergreen, you may be getting those notifications. You might want to go in and have that turned off. If it is something that you think is a bug or a glitch, and you have like the notification itself, or you have the link from the old card, but you're not able to get in and edit, please send that into support@lfi.com. And then the development team can dig into that and make sure that there's not something internally that's like, oh, there's a no longer card, but the campaign is still triggering. I know we had that happen a few times in the past.
Okay.
The other thing I think that happens, Dana, and I don't know if this is applicable, is I have links out for cards that aren't out there anymore, but they were out there for a long time. And I know Guy Niarv explained how the bots will go out and reassess whether or not these links are true links or whatever. And so I'll get hit on something that I don't even own the link anymore, right? But the link is still in my shuffle. So it may just be something odd that the gods of the internet are doing something weird.
Well, it's actually connected to one of my cards that I use, but I have a campaign on it, to whereas you have to fill out information to get to see it, but I don't see the other clicks, as opposed to you clicking on that one card or the two cards that you might have to get to that card. You see?
Gotcha.
It's
now, do those cards have campaigns on them?
No.
So
they don't
may not be seeing.
Well, one, you know what? Yes, they do. They do. No, they just made out cards. They made out cards with the campaign. Yeah, both of them had campaign. Now that I think about it, both. And actually, it's one card with 3 different cards built into it.
Right. So if those 3, so every single one of those links has to have its own campaign, right? Because if you have one main card and it has 3 links on it, but those links aren't campaigned, you don't see that click through.
So ideally, the way Kathy's talking about this, Dana, and if I've got my primary card and I've got 3 cards that link from it, I want to make sure the 3 links that are on that primary card are all campaign links, and the card, when I share it, I'm using a campaign, so that I would actually get a double notification. I'd get your card has been viewed, and then like if they link through to one of my other 3 cards, your card has been viewed. You know what I mean? And if you put, cross-linking across all of them, you would get a bunch of those sort of, and you could see, somebody's hitting all of those pages from that card. So that's
because on my main card, there's like 4 links.
Yeah.
But I don't have a campaign on the polka dot one, the masternet, or the other ones, only on my shuffle card that says Let's Connect. So I'll see you hit my website and I'll see you hit my Let's Connect card, but I won't see if you go to those other cards. So if it's buried in somewhere else, sandwiched together, it may just be like something's missing a campaign link.
Okay, so let me ask a question. This is Elaine. You're saying that, hi. So you're saying that if you don't have a campaign linked to the card that you are sending, there's no way for you to be able to know if somebody's looking at your card?
The only caveat to that, Elaine, is if you're sending an individual trackable link. So you have to think of the card as the content, and a single card can have pretty much an unlimited number of trackable links tied to it. The only link that is not trackable is the preview link. And typically what I see as the first most common issue is people share the preview link and they don't get any alerts and they don't get any feedback. So make sure if you're going to share a card out, I think of the two paths that I'm sharing. Am I sharing to an individual or am I sharing to a group? If I'm sharing to an individual, I'll create an individual trackable link. I'm sharing my card to Elaine. I'll create a link for Elaine so that if Elaine views it, I know Elaine is viewing my card. Or I'm going to post into this Zoom group. There's a bunch of people on here. I don't know who's going to view it, but I'm going to create a campaign, my Zoom post, and put it in the chat. And anybody who scans it, like my QR code right here, this is a campaign link. So every time it gets scanned, I know people are scanning my Zoom QR code. But if I just used my preview link and made a QR code out of my preview link, I would have no measurability. So Kathy, one thing that might be helpful, especially for Elaine, is I'm going to share real quick.
Yep, I was just trying to get my screen ready too.
Yeah, I was just going to say, here's this construction card for Baldwin Construction. He's a general contractor, right? And you can see I've used this card 38 times and it's got 251 views. Again, just as an example. So when I go to share this card, the first thing it asks me is, am I sending it to a contact? Because if I send it to a contact and click ER here, it's going to, I'll just show the link real quick. It's going to give a link. All of this little extra tidbit of information that you'll see in the URL, that's tracking data that tells me ER is viewing the card. If I just go to the card itself and I hit preview and you can see it opened up, this is just the card link. It doesn't change. It doesn't change any of the data of the sends or the views. Whereas if I did the one for ER and I open it up, and we'll do that right now, we'll hit share. We're going to share it to ER. We'll do it without lead capture, and we'll just show the link so I can copy it. I'm going to copy the link. I'm going to go up into my browser, and I'm going to paste that link in. And you can see, or if you heard it, I just got a little ding notification that ER is viewing the card. And if we come back in here, we can see the view count may have changed, but right here under the alerts, ER viewed your construction card. So that's the big thing for sharing to individuals, but there are definitely instances where we're marketing to more than an individual. We're going to a trade show, we're emailing a list, we're marketing on social media, we're going out tapping information to people. In that case, you want to create a campaign. So I just clicked on the 3 dots next to a card. All of this is available in the mobile app as well. And I'm just coming down to campaigns. And I would create, you can create an unlimited number of campaigns. And let's say, again, I'm going to the Build Expo 2022, you know, I could create a campaign for that. So I could hit edit it and build that campaign, or I'm going to click on it. And this is the campaign link. So I'm going to copy that link and I'm going to paste it into the browser. And you can see this one was tied to a lead capture form. That was optional. I can close it down. I can see the card and everything. And when I come back in and I'm looking at my data and my statistics, I'll be able to see under the activity for that card that I viewed it. And then it should say the campaign got viewed. It might take a second for it to cycle through that, or I might have that turned off to be only daily activity type of thing.
Mm-hmm. So if you want to know who, you have to send it to the person. If you want to know how many, you use a campaign link. If you, so on your card in particular, the card that you have that has all the buttons to it, those aren't campaign links. Otherwise, Kathy's phone would go crazy, right? So unless you own the cards, those are just generic links. So you won't know which of the 4 links they clicked on.
Is there any way for me to create the campaign so that I did know?
Only if you have the cards
from
in your
that
own
card
deck.
that Kathy made.
Mm-hmm.
Or do I want to know, or do I care?
It depends.
It depends, right? Good. I mean, ER and I are data people. We love to know. I mean, some people don't. It doesn't matter.
In some instances, you know, you might want to know that, you know, everybody goes to the top level card. So you might want to measure the top level card, but you might not be concerned what other links they're clicking on. But if you are, like, I'm a data person, I want to know everything, right? If I've got a card and the card has 4 links on it, and I can measure that they're only clicking on one of those 4 links, I want to be able to know that. So I want to put every link as something unique so that I can measure everything. And if I come back and use it, great. And if I didn't, it took me an extra 2 minutes to spin up that link and paste it in or use it, I think it's well worth the proactive work in case I want to come back and look at the data later.
So me, I just want to know if they want to connect with me. Like I want to know that they're on my landing page and that they went to Let's Connect. And if I get if I get information from them, then I know that was a good, hit. And if I don't, that's fine. They didn't click on whatever, or they got their question answered, right? Sometimes it's somebody that's just like, what's the thing I'm looking for? Kathy does it, kathyienman.com. Oh yeah, here it is. Right? If it's looking for the nonprofit or looking for something else, and they just can't remember a name. So it just depends. They do theirs a little bit different, ER, and I'm not trying to explode anybody's brain, but the sublinks on the cards are all held by one team member so that she can keep them all updated for everyone.
Okay.
So they don't necessarily have all these cards to make the campaigns.
Yeah.
So there's pros and cons, right? So all that information is kept up to date, perfectly, curated. Everything looks great. So you have that pro, but you don't own the card, so you can't make the campaign link. That's the con. Yeah. Again, I think that there can be a little overkill on data. I hate to say that.
No, I believe it. Yes.
But if that's what you're spinning on all the time, just go connect with somebody, because the data will come.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Anything else? I got all kinds of other topics for another day. I promise. I took so many good notes in my class yesterday, but I don't want to do them all in one day. So I want to make sure we answered everybody's questions.
We'll start hitting some social stuff in the weeks to come. So make sure you check it out.
Yes. All right. You guys have an awesome week. If you need us, you know where to find us. We're here to help. Bring a friend. Invite somebody to come check out Shuffle. Have a good week.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bye, everybody.